Have you ever had that weird feeling that a song used to be different, like the chorus had another line, another bounce, another vibe? Most of the time, we blame fuzzy memory, but in the 1970s, sometimes you were right, because labels would actually put a single into stores and then, days or weeks later, pull it back and quietly swap in a different version. The public ended up living with two timelines of the same hit. So today, in 10 1970s singles with two different choruses because of a recall, we're counting down 10 stories where the chorus, the hook, or the most repeatable part of the song exists in two forms because something got yanked, replaced, or reworked under pressure. And if you're into hidden music history like this, tap like and subscribe right now. It helps a ton, and it tells me to make more deep-cut stories like these. Also, keep track as we go, because at the end, I want to know which version you remember first.
Number 10. Heart of Glass, Blondie, 1979. Heart of Glass feels like it arrived fully formed, but here's the twist. Depending on where you heard it, you might not have heard the exact same version. And the reason is painfully simple. Radio. One line was enough to make certain stations hesitant, and suddenly a song built for mass airplay started getting trimmed and adjusted so nobody at the station had to answer awkward phone calls later. That's how you get two realities. One where the single feels cleaner and more straight to the point, and another where it breathes differently and matches the album vibe. And that messes with fans, because the chorus is the part your brain tattoos onto itself. You learn one version, you sing one version, then you hear the other, and it feels like someone quietly edited your childhood. And the crazy part is, this is the soft entry on the list. No courtroom, no dramatic headlines, just the music business doing what it always did, sanding down the sharp edges to keep the hook spinning. And once the hook changes, the confusion doesn't fade, it multiplies. Now, if you think that is sneaky, the next one doesn't just edit a line, it slices an entire chorus out like it never existed.
Number 9. Eagle by ABBA, 1978. ABBA had a superpower, turning melodies into permanent brain furniture, which is exactly why Eagle is such a perfect case. Because in some places, it didn't just come out in a different form, it was even withdrawn as a single. And the label's motive was the same old story, make it more radio-friendly, which usually means one thing: shorter. But this wasn't a tiny snip. The edits changed the song's flow, and in some versions, the structure gets tightened so much that you lose a whole chorus moment. For one group of listeners, Eagle feels spacious and soaring. For another, it feels like it lands early, like the song never fully stretches its wings, because in their world, it literally doesn't. That's what makes this so fascinating. Two different emotional experiences created by one decision in a label office. One version plays like a mini movie. The other feels compressed, designed to survive the brutal math of radio programming. And when fans argue about it decades later, it's not just nostalgia talking. They're remembering two different releases that actually existed. Now, if label edits feel sneaky, the next one is stranger, because it's not a trim job. It's a single that disappears and comes back re-recorded. Number 8. Apostle, Peter Green, 1978. Peter Green is one of those names that carries a built-in aura. And when a song with that kind of aura shows up as a single and then gets pulled from sale, it instantly becomes collector mythology. Apostle appeared, circulated, and then vanished. And the key detail is why. The single issue was withdrawn, and the tracks were later re-recorded. That's the difference between a forgotten single and a haunted one. Because if you caught the first version, you're holding a moment that wasn't supposed to last. And when songs get re-recorded, the changes aren't just cleaner sound. The whole feel can shift. The way the hook hits, the way the chorus resolves, the way the vocal leans into the memorable part. And with a story like this, the mystery grows with time. Was it strategy? Dissatisfaction? A change in artistic direction? Whatever the reason, the result is the same. One slice of the audience bonded with version A, while the rest of the world met version B. And if this one feels subtle and cultish, brace yourself, because the next story is big, public, and involves a band dragging a label into court. Number 7. Heartless by Heart, 1978. Heartless sounds like a hit from the title alone, but behind it is a kind of industry drama most people never connect to the chorus they're singing in the car. Heart's album Magazine had such a messy release situation that it ended up tied to court action, a recall or withdrawal, and later re-recording and remixing. And after everything settled, Heartless effectively existed in two forms. On paper, the differences can look small. In your ears, they're not. A different lead vocal changes the weight of the hook. A tiny lyric tweak becomes a fingerprint that tells you which universe you grew up in. Even the feel of the chorus, how it lands, how it pushes forward, can shift enough to make fans swear one version is the only real one. And what's wild is that this wasn't about chasing a trend. It was about control. The band wanted their music finished on their terms. The label wanted product on shelves. The compromise created two audible realities, and for years people argued about the song without realizing they were comparing two different recordings. Now that was a legal battlefield. Next up, a different kind of pressure, the kind where one word, if it sounds wrong, can threaten an entire single. Number 6. Ape Man, The Kinks, 1970. There's obvious censorship, and then there's paranoia censorship. Ape Man lives in that second category. The issue wasn't that the song had a swear, it was that a word sounded like one to nervous listeners. And in a decade where radio was oxygen, sounds like was enough to create a real problem. So the band did the most 1970 thing imaginable. They went back and redubbed the line so the pronunciation came through more clearly, reducing the risk of mishearing. It's not a glamorous change, it's a survival change. And because the hook and repeatable parts are what people memorize, even a small tweak becomes a signature. Fans who grew up on one version swear the other doesn't hit the same. What I love about this story is how it shows radio's power. It wasn't just play it or don't, it was say it differently or we might not touch it. And once that happens, you get the theme of this whole countdown. Two official realities created by one nervous decision. And if Ape Man shifted because of fear of a misheard word, the next one changed because of a famous brand name, and it triggered one of the most ridiculous last-minute fixes in rock history. Number 5. Lola, The Kinks, 1970. Lola was already bold by nature, and a lot of people assume the controversy came from the subject matter, but that's not what triggered the biggest problem. The problem was a brand name. The BBC wouldn't play lyrics that sounded like product placement, and the original recording referenced Coca-Cola, so if the song wanted airplay, it had to change. And this wasn't a casual, we'll fix it later. It became a real scramble. The line was overdubbed so the single release used Cherry Cola instead, and that creates the perfect collector-level split. Recordings exist with one word, and recordings exist with the other. The main chorus hook stays Lola, but that one repeated moment becomes a fingerprint that tells you which version shaped your memory. It's the kind of detail collectors love because it's tiny and massive at the same time. Tiny because it's basically two words. Massive because it changes the fate of the whole single. One version couldn't breathe on the radio, the other could. And suddenly fans turn into detectives. Which Lola did you grow up with? Now, if that feels dramatic, brace yourself. The next story isn't a swapped word. It's an artist pulling a single because he couldn't stand the mix. Number 4. Stepping Stone by Jimi Hendrix and Band of Gypsys, 1970.
Yo, woman, that is you.
Picture this. You release a single, it reaches the public, and then you, the artist, basically say, nope. With the Band of Gypsies, Stepping Stone backed with Isabella hit the market, and then the story got stamped with one brutal detail. Hendrix was dissatisfied with the mix, and the single was quickly withdrawn. This wasn't radio pressure. It wasn't a broadcast rule. It was the creator rejecting the way his own work had been presented. And with Hendrix, that matters, because a mix isn't just sound quality. It changes how the chorus detonates, how the groove feels, how the hook punches you in the chest. The side effect is the theme of the whole list: 2 memories, 2 emotional choruses. Some people only met the song later through other mixes and releases and assumed that's the definitive one. Then you learn there was a moment when an official single existed, got pulled, and left behind a trail only the earliest listeners can truly describe. And if Hendrix is chaos through artistic control, the next one is chaos through competition, the same song battling itself in multiple versions, with record stores forced to remove copies from shelves. Number 3. Roxy Roller, Sweeney Todd, 1976. Roxy Roller is the kind of story that makes you ask, how was this even allowed? Because it's not just 2 versions, multiple versions circulated around the same time with different lead singers. And while the public is still learning the hook, the voice changes, the attitude changes, the whole chorus energy changes. What makes it even crazier is that the chaos didn't stay inside fan arguments. There was real label pressure. On behalf of one version, a label demanded imported copies of competing versions be withdrawn from the US market, and stores removed them from shelves. So you could walk into a shop, see a single, and then shortly after, it simply wouldn't be there anymore, replaced by another recording where the same chorus is delivered by a completely different voice. That's basically a factory-made Mandela effect. One group remembers the chorus with this vocal tone, another group remembers it with that tone. Both are right, they just bought their reality on different days. And if that's confusing, the next one feels even more like a parallel universe, because Bowie created a drastically different US single mix, and then it got pulled back. Number 2. Rebel Rebel, David Bowie, 1974. Rebel Rebel has one of those choruses that feels inevitable. You hear it once and it sticks. But here's what splits fans into 2 planets. There was a US single version with a different mix and arrangement. Shorter, denser, packed with added elements, almost like the same song got rebuilt with a different mission. And this is where it locks perfectly into today's theme. That US single mix didn't remain a permanent alternate. It was withdrawn and replaced by the UK single version not long after. So there was a window where American listeners could buy a different reality, and then the window closed. That's why decades later people argue about the real feel of the hook. Some swear it used to hit differently, because for them, it did. They met the version that got pulled, while everyone else lived in the other timeline. And now, after Bowie's Parallel Universe single, we reach the most, wait, what case on the list. A song that first arrived with one chorus and one title, then came back reborn with another. Number 1. 5.7.0.5, City Boy, 1978. This one wins because it's not just 2 versions, it's 2 identities. The song was first recorded with different lyrics and a different title, Turn On to Jesus. It was released that way, and then it was withdrawn. And when it came back transformed in the most important place any hit can transform, the hook. The new title and chorus became a phone number, 5.7.0.5. So the thing you repeat while singing changed. The part that sticks in your brain changed. The title you'd request on the radio changed.
It's basically a perfect case study for the mystery we're talking about today. Two groups of listeners in the same era hearing the same band, but bonding with completely different choruses, and both groups being right. If you caught the first release, you remember one world. If you caught the version that won, you remember another. So the next time someone says, "I swear the chorus used to be different," this is the kind of story that proves it's not always nostalgia. Sometimes it's music archaeology.
And what these 10 stories prove is simple. In the 1970s, a single wasn't just a song, it was a living object. It could be edited, pulled, re-recorded, swapped, replaced. And sometimes it happened so fast, the public didn't even notice. Not until years later, when two people start singing the same hook and they sing different words with different timing, like they grew up in different worlds. Now, I've got a question for you. Which of these twists hit you the hardest? And more importantly, which version do you consider the real one? Drop it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this kind of lost version detective work, hit like and subscribe, because the bigger this community gets, the deeper we can dig into the stories that labels tried to quietly bury.